goes into creating an event such as this, so to see it actually come to fruition is awesome. So congratulations. And to your board, how many hours you all have spent putting in preparation, right? So thank you. This is an exciting opportunity for all of us. The objective today is to empower and educate you on an integrated approach to medicine. What is integrated medicine? It's a patient-centered care addressing a person's mind, body, and spirit as a whole. Not alternative care, but complementary care. The best of science meets the best of nature, working together as a team. Most of us are in this room because we want to take charge of our health. We know to listen to our doctors, but we have also been here long enough to know to listen to our own bodies. I'm here today to share my story, my journey, how life changed in an instant, and yet has become more fulfilling than I could ever imagine. I will encourage you to listen to that tiny voice whispering in your ear and trust that queasy feeling in your gut when you know something isn't right. I'm here to inspire you to find your voice and share your story, because by sharing it, you will heal yourself and you will heal others. I've lived a pretty non-traditional life as a performer, traveling the world on board luxury cruise liners, singing in exotic locations. From Abu Dhabi to Indonesia, I have loved and laughed in fishnets and false lashes. Spending my days on white sand beaches and nights on stage draped in sequins, bathing in a spotlight. I met my husband at a local gym when I was visiting my parents in between contracts. I had no idea that slow dance in front of the stage on a warm spring Earth day on Browns Island would lead me to a life of luxury in the exotic port of Mechanicsville. I also never could have guessed that years later I would lean on my performing skills to endure the darkest night a mother can endure. One week after the birth of our boy-girl twins, Grayson and Lola, I found myself numbly giving permission to an emergency medical team to stop CPR on my daughter. I fell to my knees shaking in disbelief, soon to learn my daughter suffered from a series of miscommunications, mistakes, and misdiagnoses in the most advanced healthcare system in the world, becoming a victim of the third largest cause of death in our nation, medical error. How do you forgive the unforgivable? How do you survive the unsurvivable? You experience and you feel all the stages of grief. You kick and scream, you cry, you hate, and then slowly you start putting one foot in front of the other. When you're able to stand, you open your eyes and you begin to see the world around you. You realize it's your responsibility to take action purely because you have the ability to respond. You take a deep breath and then you rise. I gave birth to Grayson and Lola at 32 weeks in the hospital where my husband was and still continues to be a practicing orthopedic physician's assistant. We handpicked our staff and we had every confidence in the world they were well taken care of and in the safest of hands. They were admitted into the newly renovated state-of-the-art NICU with no apparent complications. They were called feeders and growers, which is a term in the NICU just for babies only needing time to grow and mature before they head home. My husband and I lived in the NICU. Grab that. My husband and I lived in the NICU, sleeping on the pull-out couches, acutely aware of every alarm and sound. We sang, "Don't worry, not a thing," to the babies and learned about kangaroo care, each day placing them on our chest, feeling their temperatures rise and their heartbeats regulate. The one day the nurses convinced me to stay home, I woke with a strange feeling, and I called the hospital, asking not about Grayson, but about Lola. I spoke with the nurse, who assured me she was fine. And she said I was just being a first-time worrywart mother. I decided not to go to the hospital, as they suggested. I called numerous times that day. I'm a little type A. And I was proud when they said the babies were doing so well, and they asked if they could be in the background of the documentary they were filming that day. However, when I called back that night, my daughter was gravely ill, and 6 hours later, I would be holding her in my arms as she took her last breath. What on earth had gone wrong? How was it possible for someone to be just fine and then gone in a matter of hours? In the months afterwards, I spent hours obsessing over the details of my daughter's death, discovering shocking symptoms and behaviors ignored. I questioned Lola's dropping heart rate days before and was told it was normal. A third-year resident had questioned symptoms Lola began showing and was also reassured she was fine, but she wasn't. These conversations would haunt me for years, making me promise to never again let anyone talk me out of a gut feeling. I wrestled with emotions so raw, I would fall to the floor of the shower sobbing, and then my love for Grayson, who was begging for love and needing my strength. I asked the question, why us? I didn't want to accept the answer I heard, why not? After Lola died, my sole focus was retribution. I pulled away from family and friends, dodging sympathetic looks and outstretched arms. I wanted to expose the hospital that killed my child and spread word of its incompetency. These thoughts made me feel better for a moment, but my anger and grief were destroying my family. I couldn't reconcile the fact my husband continued to remain an employee of the hospital. Even after the death of his daughter, he believed in them. I was furious with his viewpoint. Bad things can happen in hospitals, and this time, it happened to us. He wanted to move on and focus on the family we had in front of us. I was desperately in love with my son, but my husband and moving on were the furthest things from my mind. After 9 months, our marriage was in shambles, and I was growing weary of the energy it took to stay angry. I wanted Lola's memory untainted and beautiful, but that wasn't possible with a bitter mother leading the way. It took a conversation with my mother, doesn't it always, to turn my life around. One afternoon she said, "Honey, why don't you start trying to focus on something or someone else?" She said, "By helping other people, you may begin to help yourself." In that moment, I felt a sense of relief. Someone was giving me permission to stop bathing in my anger. I began to create. I made ornaments in honor of Lola, varnished with lavender glitter and hung by a string of pearls. Creating something felt good. Honoring her felt better. Music had always been my life and my refuge, but when Lola died, all I could handle was silence. Songs evoked too much pain. Hesitantly, I rejoined my church choir. I was becoming less angry with God and more confused, beginning to question if maybe there was a reason I didn't understand. Maybe Lola was meant for something greater than just being in my arms. At her funeral, the pastor said, "Don't focus on why this happened, but what you can do with it." I began to feel a responsibility to share her story. I recorded a CD of lullabies for my son, something I never considered possible. I thoughtfully chose the music and sang as tears trickled down my face. I had a child who needed me here. I wanted to show him I needed him too. It was time to forgive and to live again. The death of a child is one of the hardest things a couple can experience. The pain is so personal and deep, many marriages do not survive. We had sabotaged ourselves almost beyond recognition. But we finally sought marriage counseling. As we sat across from each other, knees touching, we were forced to look into each other's eyes and say what we needed from each other. Ironically, what we both needed was to hear the same thing, the words, "I'm sorry." With just those 2 words, we began to heal. We chose to forgive each other, and we started fighting for our marriage. It was not easy, and it was the hardest work we've ever done. Then, we decided to confront the hospital. Alan finally read through Lola's medical charts, and he was alarmed at what he found. He immediately wanted to write the hospital while I continued to demand that we pursue legal action. He maintained his position more would be accomplished with a meeting than a lawsuit. He believed the hospital would listen and we could help other families. I took a breath and decided to trust him. Within 24 hours, we were granted a meeting with top officials of the hospital and my special request of the chaplain. I needed someone who would be unbiased and could restrain me if needed. We shed light on the numerous mistakes never reported and fit together the pieces of Lola's puzzling death. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. They were shocked and ashamed. Their reaction changed our hearts as well as the course of our lives. The hospital issued an apology and made a promise to do and be better. As a result, we chose to partner with the hospital that claimed responsibility for the death of our daughter. They were taking a chance, going against the silent protocol of the past by agreeing to be transparent. We began traveling the nation, speaking to medical and PA schools, and divulging the death of Lola's story in hopes of educating health professionals on patient safety. By supporting us, we were given a voice, and we chose to use it. We also decided to have more children, and we're blessed with our other son, Sawyer Graham Fitch, who continues to keep us on our toes. We call him Saucy. Our 2 boys deserve to know every possible thing has been done to understand and rectify the circumstances that took their sister. They need to know when they go into a hospital for any type of care, they are safe and they are protected. I'm proud to tell them, Mommy and Daddy are speaking out to keep you safe. Lola is present in our lives, but the example I'm setting is for Grayson and Sawyer. I want them to see happiness, strength, and determination. I can't say I understand why I've been chosen to be surrounded by smelly men for the rest of my days, but I'll take it. We started a website, lolasong.com. I needed a logo for the site, and I drew a picture of a firefly wearing a theater mask. The mask represents my dreams and love for the arts. Then one night, as I was out catching lightning bugs with the boys, it struck me the firefly symbolized Lola, and how it just takes one little light to cut the darkness. It seemed, though, every time driving home after our talks, I was left with the feeling of wanting more. I would see the emotions on faces in the moment, but as soon as our talks were over, the door opened, and then the moment felt lost. I started thinking about what I wanted for my family from my medical team and created Lola's Pledge and Lola's Song Project. The pledge is a commitment in 4 simple sentences, charging professionals to practice better and safer. We've had almost 1,000 health professionals sign it. I encourage you to go to the website and take the pledge as well. Lola's Song Project came about when I was teaching in my voice studio and realized the skills we use in the theater are the same needed in medical care: teamwork, communication, empathy, leadership, and music as a mnemonic device. I can memorize any text if you set it to music. How many of you, by show of hands, how many of you learned CPR to the song Staying Alive? Anyone? Great. I took a chance and presented the project to Dr. Tracy Hope, Chief of Quality and Performance Improvement at UVA Health System. Her eyes sparked, and she said it was innovative and sexy. The word every showgirl wants to hear. 8 months later, the University of Virginia piloted the first program. We shared Lola's story, then we watched as health professionals from all different levels broke into small groups and together picked a theme they had heard lacking in Lola's care. They chose a melody and created new lyrics to help them remember their renewed intent of practice. We were shocked when some even added choreography. That day we laughed, we cried, and we celebrated as healthcare professionals took a chance on a very outside-the-box project and walked away humming about themes of safety and escalation. Music and fitness have always been a constant in my life. Each day, I would set a goal to get up and move. I would walk or run and found solace in the gym. Moving would literally move my emotions so I didn't just sit in one all day. Anytime I was active, I felt powerful and better. My voice became stronger. I slowly began teaching in my voice studio again, but had a realization as more women started asking, how was I able to share the story? All those years on the stage weren't just for fishnets and false lashes. They were training my voice to help others. I could teach people not only to sing, but learn to speak. My voice studio is now called The Fit Voice. We build confidence and improve your voice to affect your audience. I believe in the mind, body, and spirit connection. By evaluating how we see ourselves and how we want the world to see us in combination with balancing our physical habits, we discover our strongest voice. You don't need years of performing the Phantom of the Opera on a cruise ship to prepare you to share your story. You need belief in yourself and the desire to make your mark on the world. You see, we all have a story. And that brief moment when our world comes to a shocking halt. After it, we find our new normal, life with or without ... Those little gut feelings I had were legitimate. I blindly trusted because it didn't cross my mind not to. Sometimes when we walk into a medical facility, it seems we shut off our rational brains. We let someone else think and often speak for us. We trust we'll be taken care of and blindly let them take the reins. But our health professionals are just like you. A late dinner and drinks with friends as they should. We are all only human and we will make mistakes. But we can lessen the frequency and the severity if we think, speak, and act together. Patient-centered care evaluates the patient as a whole, and who knows the patient better than anyone? You do. I'm often asked, how long are you going to keep telling this story? And I have 2 responses. 1, as long as it takes to decrease the number of medical errors. Lola's story in its entirety is powerful. I see the effect it has on practitioners, and I have witnessed change. The story is necessary. Answer number 2, as long as it continues to feel good for me and my family. You see, I don't focus on the last 6 hours of my daughter's life. I focus on the opportunity I have been given to show courage and resilience. My husband and I heal through speaking on medical error. My kids are proud of their parents and their sister. And I'm living a life of meaning and purpose that was made richer and more beautiful. Because I choose not to let tragedy be the center of my life, but yet be a part of it. And I made the choice to rise. I charge you today to think of yourself as part of a team. We are all on the same trajectory of life, just trying to get it right. By working together, we can go above and beyond our own expectations and find the strength that will help ourselves and will help others. I believe we can be better today than we were yesterday. Take a moment right now, close your eyes if you like, and just breathe. Commit to taking care of yourself, living life to the fullest, and daring to be all you ever dreamed. Life is short. Take chances. Do not let your voice hold you back, but use it to share your stories of bravery and courage. And always remember, it just takes one little light to cut the darkness. Thank you.